Hi and welcome to Project Marlin. In some of our previous videos we've talked quite a lot about the fact that there's new projects coming to the channel, and this video is to introduce you to one of our new projects. But first of all, we ought to introduce you to the man who owns that project, and here he is.
Hello, I'm Jimmy. My project is lurking here under the cover, and like Stu, we both bought things that we thought would be a great idea at the time, and you know, as we go along, maybe not, but screw it, it's all part of the fun, isn't it?
Can we have a look at it?
Yeah, why not? Right, some of you may have seen a post on Facebook a little bit ago explaining that we got this new workshop space and that another project was coming to the channel, this one, and I think one of you might have guessed it right, but anyway, let's stop the tease from continuing and show you what it is. And here it is, another dusty, rusty relic of the 80s. Unfortunately, I think me and Stu both have a problem with that. And to those of you that are not quite sure, it is a 1988 Toyota Celica GT4, the first GT4 in finest dust and rust, but it's 80s and Japanese, so what do you expect from that? And I know it's trying to wink at you here, don't worry, it's just excited about being on YouTube, to be honest. I wish it would calm down a little, to be honest. So you would have just seen there a little video tour around the car where you can see certainly some of its weaker points and some of its stronger points. I suppose a little bit of history on the vehicle itself. Originally bought it with my brother and a friend probably about 5 or 6 years ago from someone not too far away from where we live. It was left under a tree, and I think the story of it was the previous owner was going to take the engine and drivetrain and put it into a Corolla to do hill climbing in, and I think the day before he was going to do that, the Corolla got stolen, so this just got left to the side and kept there. And me and brother and friend, we were looking at getting a cheap track car to have some fun with, as we live quite close to a few racetracks. And a friend said about this Celica that someone had, originally going there thinking it was, you know, either the ST185 or the 205, to then be confronted with this, which admittedly at the time, you know, blame youth on that one, I had no idea what it was. Still agreed to get it and brought it back through a thunder and hailstorm back to where we live, which was an eventful journey, that's for sure, and did some more research onto it, and gradually decided that it seemed a bit of a waste to hack it up and try and use it as a track car, plus the work it needed to even get it road legal and prop it up together was a bit too much. And when we started to realise the rarity of it, because I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time I ever saw one of these on the road. So I took the decision to take it and restore it back. But unfortunately that was about 5 or 6 years ago. And since then it's just sat in a barn waiting for time, funds and the proper place to do it. Unfortunately where it was before, it had a constantly flooded pit with creatures in it, shall we say, and there was no power, nothing. So it's just been sat there under a cover until discussions with Stu about bringing it into Project Marlin once this workshop is finally sorted. So as you can see, it's over here now, and hopefully work will start soon, but there's quite a few jobs we need to sort out first. But yes, I suppose you might have noticed the red door on it. Not the original door, unsurprisingly, but to continue the theme of stealing, the night that we got it back, well, it wasn't the night actually, it was a few days later, some people tried to steal it from outside a workshop. They broke the driver's door glass and tried to take it, but the thing had no fuel pump, no power, no brakes. So if they actually got it running, you know, I would have thanked them, to be honest, for getting it running. It would have saved me a lot of work. but they gave up, but left me with the fun of a broken window, which not the easiest thing to source. The better thing to do, well, what ended up happening was just sourcing a door by itself, as well as a few other body panels actually, but we'll go through those another time. And actually that door is in better condition than the original door, but the original door is still here because it's got part of the body kit on it that's needed. Because another special thing about this car is it's an original UK car, registered late 1988, original UK wide-bodied car. From memory, I think it has only about 60-something thousand miles on it, which is original, and it's not done much for 10 or 15 years, to be honest. Say the worst areas of the car are over on the passenger rear quarter, where there's another story to tell with that, but we'll go through that another time. But luckily, because it's such low mileage, the interior, apart from just a couple of marks, is basically immaculate, which is amazing, to be honest. Because it hasn't spent that much time on the road, from last time we had a look at it, admittedly a few years ago, it's not too bad underneath, but it's the areas above. It's the rear quarter, it's the window surround. To be honest, that rear passenger quarter is a mess. And trying to source any new panels or replacement bits for it is going to be near impossible. So it's going to have to be a lot of custom fabrication, but hopefully the bulk of it, under the bonnet here, showed a bit there. Yes, it looks messy, but it's been sat for so long. Silly areas, the top of the suspension mounts are absolutely immaculate. Underneath the battery tray is immaculate. Boot floor is absolutely fine. And apologies if you get interrupted by the helicopter that's flying overhead. It's been nice and quiet all day until we started to do this, but that's sod's law anyway. Yes, the interior, which I know would have been a nightmare to try and source parts from. I've been trying to source parts now from lesser Celicas of the same age and stuff, so there's bits I've been getting. Headlight motors, I've managed to source rocker cover for it from one of these, but silly things. I know the engine in this, the 3S GT, was put in a few cars, all the GT4s, the MR2 turbos and such, but they're all different revisions, and this is, an early one, and the aim with it is to try and keep it as, original as possible with the original 14-inch wheels. I know some people would be like, upgrade rear axle to a later one with bigger brakes and stuff, but would just like to keep this as close to original as when it came out of the factory in the late 80s. So yeah, that's kind of the plan for it. The biggest difficulties, I think, is going to be the custom fabrication. Again, I'm kind of hoping that the underside is as solid as I remember, but once we get this ramp here working and stuff, we'll get it up in the air and have a proper look, which will either be a fun video or a video full of a lot of swearing, a lot of head scratching, and a lot of other things, but we'll get there. Randomly, this headlight is up because I was looking at this the other week, just trying to source random parts and have a look at spare things, and was trying to investigate, as a theory I have, I don't know whether it's right, someone can tell me, whether these are the same units as used in the original MR2 or the 86 shaped Corolla, because you seem to be able to source random bits like that fine. You type in like parts for those, easy, type it in for this, nothing. But as you'd expect from a car this age, all the bolts rounded off, so the headlight unit is still in there. But everything else actually came off quite well. Yes, so actually one of the bigger benefits is the other week, we'll do a proper video on that, I would imagine as well. We just, for a laugh, thought chuck a battery on it and see if stuff works, because the Achilles of a lot of old things, I know it's Japanese, but still, is electrics. And we were very happy to find that, plug the thing into it, it doesn't turn over, but the engine is not seized. Well, we don't think so, it does move, but it's probably, a starter, or maybe the immobiliser after so long is doing something funny. But again, we're going to look at that once we can get on the ramp. But everything else works. To be honest, it wouldn't pass its MOT on the electrics because one of the number plate lights at the back and a brake light isn't working, but apart from that, it all works. The stereo works, the aerial even pops out the back, the sunroof works, these work, everything works, which is, to be honest, was quite a shock, seeing as how long it's been sat there. But that hopefully is a good sign of a little bit of a less of a job needed once we get onto the full parts of it. But yes, until really we get this workshop properly sorted, which, we're here in our spare time and stuff, so it's not going to be the quickest process. But once mainly this ramp here is done and we can get the thing up in the air and make sure it's not a total wreck, because you know we do have to be sort of realistic with these things as much as you want your heart to lead your head. But as long as it's nice enough under there, then it's the small case of basically dropping the engine, the drivetrain and everything off there for me and Stu to work on aside from the car, and then sending this thing off to somewhere that can take it back and do all the custom fabrication it needs and bring it back. But it's the hope. The thing is, you know, it's not out there in the same league as an Integrale or a Cosworth, I guess, but it's rare. It certainly has rally pedigree, and you know, it's a bit of cool 80s, much like the Marlin. There's just something about things from the 80s that are just really cool.
Well, now you've met Jimmy, you've met his project Celica, which I'm quite excited about. I've got a very fun childhood memory of the Celica, the model before this one. But I do love an 80s car, especially one with a bit of rally pedigree. You've seen a little bit of our workshop here. You're going to see a lot more of it in the future. Obviously we've got to get the ramp commissioned. That's going to take a bit of sorting out. Once the electrics are in, we need to make sure it's safe and it's all working. It's been out of use for probably just over 10 years now, so the cables are good, but we're not sure about everything else. Once that's up and working, we can get the car up and have a look under it, which will be really interesting to see. We've also got in the background here a Bristol Bulldog air compressor. It's a big old air compressor. Again, hasn't run for years, it needs some bearings in it. Once we get that sorted out, and it'll be wired up as well, we'll have plenty of air in here, so we'll be able to use air tools. We're thinking of possibly getting a shot blaster so we can clean up smaller parts actually here without having to send them away, which will be really, really useful. Anyway, I think that just about wraps up the video. So if you've liked this video, please click like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you'd like notifications when we upload new videos, please click that bell icon. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you all soon.